scale up for the innovation?
Sorry, I just hit record. I just hit record. Thank you.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you. So phase 2, with the scale up of the innovation, that provides a positive return of investment. So it's more phase 1, you are thinking about commercial potential, but phase 2, we really want to see what would be your return of investment. Phase 2 also allows for commercialization planning and implementation of the technology, product, or services. However, keep in mind, very important note, phase 2, not any small business can directly apply for phase 2. Only phase 1 awardee who successfully completed the phase 1 eligible to apply phase 2. So all of a sudden, no one can just apply directly to phase 2. They have to always jump from phase 1 to phase 2. But how about phase 1 from other agencies? Yes, if you have completed a phase 1 from other agencies and you like to bring that idea to apply to USDA phase 2, definitely you could do that. So this is a big differences for phase 2. Phase 3, keep in mind, this is not funded through USDA SBIR funds, but successfully phase 3 grantee are encouraged to secure funding from different public, private, state resources and investment to enable commercialization. So phase 3 is actually the difference between phase 2 and 3 is phase 3 is just ready to move to the market. Okay, so we do have some phase 3, but then we do administer phase 3, but USDA SBIR funds do not directly provide funding for phase 3. I'm going to just stop a little bit and see if anyone has any specific question about these 3 different phases.
Any questions about that? I know there was one question just about whether or not the posting, the solicitation is released yet. It is not yet posted. A couple of people had asked about that. That will come out the phase 1 for 2023 will come out this summer.
July.
Yep.
But you
go ahead. I was going to say it's good to go ahead and look at the past solicitation. Go ahead and look at last year's solicitation. You're not going to see crazy changes. It's going to give you a good sense so you can start preparing, but then always make sure that you're using the current solicitation guidelines.
100% right. And we always ask our applicant to look in our website, the last fiscal year RFA. We do not dramatically change anything. All the program areas are similar. Little bit of the differences is going to have sometimes is just the formatting and other requirements, and then we always clear those up in the webinar. And before submitting, you can always look at the current RFA and make those changes. But the older version is a really good source too at this stage. All right, so these are the 3 phases. If anyone has any specific question for the 3 phases, please let me know. But let's go how the other differences between phase 1 and 2. We're not going to talk about phase 3 much because we do not fund that. And so let's dive on the phase 1 and 2. So the annual budget looks like around $34 million for both SBIR and STTR program. However, around $30 million are actually for SBIR programs and around $4 million only for STTR program. So you basically see that SBIR has the bigger budget compared to the STTR programs. And keep in mind, we just started fiscal year 23, budget will be changing. More of the STTR application will be eligible to receive the award slowly, but for now is source of smaller chunk of the budget. For phase 1, the budget amount or the funding amount is $125,000 to $175,000. That's what you could ask for. Now, why is this range? I'm going to explain to you later in a couple slides. It depends on the topic area you choose. A couple topic areas you cannot ask for 175,000, only 125,000 you are eligible, and some are 175,000. I'll clear that up once I talk about the topic area, but these are the ranges. For phase 2, there is no differences between which topic area you apply. All the applicant can apply for 600,000. So it's just same for both phases for all the programs. Another differences between phase 1 and phase 2 in terms of the duration of time. Remember, the phase 1 is just the proof of concept or feasibility testing. So you need really small amount of time. So SBIR, we said that for that program, the duration is 8 months for phase 1. However, for STTR, we allowed 12 months because you need the collaboration with the federal lab or the university. You need the cooperative agreement to establish, you need the right person to find. So we allow a little bit more time to work on that. So STTR 12 months. Phase 2, there is no differences between SBIR and STTR. Is just 24 months, 2 years for phase 2. So that's just our duration differences and a little bit of the funding or the budget differences.
Arun, there was a question that's probably a good time to address right now is how many phase 1 awards are typically made each year and phase 2 awards?
Good question. I'm going to wait because I do have a specific slide for that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So let's look at the SBIR STTR, because one of the thing I say a little bit difference that SBIR 8 months, STTR 12 months. So duration was different. What other differences you need to know just to think about it? Should I apply for SBIR or should I apply for STTR? So the difference based on 4 elements, I will always ask you to check. The number 1 element is any other research institution, non-profit research institution, or federal funded research and development center participation, or university participation. If you want a PD or co-PD from that area, SBIR, no restriction. You may bring a co-PD from any other federal lab or university. So this is a not requirement. If you like, you could do that. STTR, you have to do that. It's a required one, must. You need a collaboration from federal lab or with the university. Now, the participation percent is little bit varies depending on SBIR STTR program and also between the phases. Like for the phase 1, percent of participation is 33% or less for SBIR. If you choose to do that, remember, it is not a required one. For phase 2, you can do that participation of federal lab or university up to 50%. However, on the STTR side, doesn't matter phase 1 and phase 2, the percent of participation range between 30 to 60%. So you can see the difference. STTR started with 30% participation. SBIR, if you like to make that participation, is 33%. So there is a 3% differences that would be in a different category. Once you try to apply, you could either apply SBIR, you could apply STTR. The third option could be both, meaning that you have that sweet spot that you could choose that, hey, I'm going to apply for both category. Wherever it is, have a better possibility for me to get funding, choose my application for that one. So you do have that 3 different options. How about the primary employment of the principal investigator? For SBIR, it has to be always employed with the small business. For the STTR, as it is not with the small business always, it could be either small business or non-profit research institution. Either one could be our PD. And another thing that we mentioned a little bit, the formal cooperative agreement, and that is required to save the small businesses' interest, that outlining intellectual property rights between the lab and the small business or the university and small business, that is a required document for STTR once they apply. For SBIR, it is not a required document. So this is some of the differences once you are trying to decide that, do you have a collaboration with the university? Do you have a collaboration with the federal lab? Think about, are you be better off applying STTR or are you be better off applying for SBIR?
Right. A great question that just came up, Narun, is explaining a little bit more about the relationship with the PI, as probably, especially, I'm assuming if the PI is not an employee of the small business. These are, and I do want to vote, these are some of the things that will help you guys with as well. Partnering is a key element. Your team is a really key part of whatever agency you're looking at. They're going to be adjusting whether or not your team is competent to carry out the proposed project. So that's why it's great to think about partnerships with universities or federal labs. And we're excited that USDA has this STTR option as well. But you know, this is important. Protecting your IP with cooperative agreements is probably, it's required for STTR. You might want to make sure that you're considering it with SBIR if you're using a partner, a university or federal lab partner or other partners. But tell us a little bit about the PI, you know, the relationship with the business. How do you make sure that that technology is transferred and or the relationship is strong?
So I would say the PI always decide that what kind of project I'm doing and who is going to be greater help. Sometimes the small business is the PI and they have the innovative idea. That's great, but they might not have all the essential elements to do the feasibility testing, the lab testing, or proof of concept testing. Sometimes it's better off that collaboration with the federal lab or the university folks who could help you, assist you better to do that. So that way you can sort of think about doing that. Now it goes other way. It has to be always small business, take the initiative and try to make the connection. But now with the STTR, even federal lab or ARS folks, university professor, they also think, hey, I am eligible for STTR application. I could be PD or PI. Maybe I will look for another small business who does have similar ideas that we can work together and apply for this grant. So sometimes this is a little bit critical, and all those supporting agency can help you to find that right collaboration, right group of the people to collaborate with.
Yeah, ultimately the small businesses is whether you're the PIs there or not, it's your job to commercialize this technology. So that's really, you know, you're keeping in mind, how are you going to make sure that this is fitting with your intended customers? So that's really your job as well. And having really that combined technical as well as business expertise is going to be brilliant. So
yeah.
Make sure you
Another good question Lenia has, is there a sample cooperative agreement that we can refer to? So Lenia, USDA purposefully did not provide a fixed cooperative agreement. We always say just search the cooperative agreement and then whatever you come up with, as long as it has the intellectual property rights and all those clear expectation and goal is defined, we'll accept that. The reason is a lot of university does have already the cooperative agreements or so form that they would like to use. So we did not want to provide a specific one. But if you just Google the cooperative agreement, NSF had a good one, NIH has a good one.
Yep.
If no one has it, they can usually use that as a sample one and start working with that one. But if you are working with a university like Ohio and other universities, we saw that we did not want to define that use this one because they already have a cooperative agreement form that they would like to use.
Yeah.
So if you are working with someone that they do not have the cooperative agreement, just make sure that NIH one or any other agency one open in the web. You can use that one as long as intellectual property rights are there.
Yeah. And yeah, especially when you're working with university partners, they're going to have their standard cooperative agreement. Working with your FAST team as well, you may have different team members that are have expertise. I have someone on my team who does a lot of CRADA's cooperative agreements. So we'll help you as well at, you know, representing you on the small business side, just to have another set of eyes on that in case. But generally, it's really just making sure that there's appropriate allocation of rights to the intellectual property.
Yeah, that's right. Any other question between this, the difference between SBIR and STTR? Those are really good questions.
Keep them up. Keep them coming.
Good question. All right, I am going to answer another question that you had, the funding percentage, right? So someone was thinking that what is the funding success rate?
Oh, yeah.
So look at the previous one. If we think about the fiscal year 21, we did have 79 hours out of 526 applications. So you can think of phase one is really competitive one, right? The success rate is 15%. for fiscal year 21. Looking at fiscal year 22, around 15% again, 77 hours of 525 applications. And similar time frame, we see that fiscal year 23, we are wrapping up. That's also coming back around 15%. So phase one, very competitive, around 15% success rate overall. Last couple of years, we see that.
Mhm.
Once we are thinking about phase two, is really a high success rate, but keep in mind that phase one already had a successful completion. Those are the folks who applied for phase two. So the number of application is really low compared to phase one. So 31 awards out of 64 applications in fiscal year 21 awarded, around 48%. Fiscal year 22, 34 hours out of 68 applications, so 50%. So we see roughly around 50% for phase two. But you have to have that phase one completed first, because those, they already are successful, they have the commercial potential. So phase two was comparatively easier to get the funding.
Yeah. There's a question, and it is related to a little bit how USDA runs their SBIR and STTR programs. You have a set number of topics or your research areas, but you don't separate, am I correct? You don't separate between SBIR and STTR. They have the choice, regardless of topic, to apply under SBIR or STTR. Is that correct?
That is correct. But remember, fiscal year 21, 22, all those data that I'm showing you, we did not have STTR that time.
Right.
It was all SBIR. So fiscal year 23, phase one, only we have the STTR. So this is first time STTR. That data is not done yet. Our award management division is working on making those final final award. They are working really hard, and hopefully in a couple of weeks or months, so we'll get all those done and then can give you a better idea. But again, STTR, looking at the budget, you know that percentage is low. I do not have exactly how many numbers that we have, around 78 or 79 total proposals. I think around 7 or 8 was the STTR. So STTR is small number. Hopefully next year or next presentation, we can bring back some of those STTR data that we don't have yet. This is all based on our SBIR data. And you are also right, program code specific percentages there. And I will show you some of those numbers as well. Sure.
But in general, Claire and others, with granting agencies like NIH and USDA, you have the option, regardless of what you are trying to propose, to decide whether or not you're doing an SBIR or STTR. Some of the agencies like DOD or NASA, they are very specific. You can't apply to STTR unless it is specifically defined as an STTR topic. So what I would say in terms of, is there a benefit to do it or not? I would say, look at your team, look at what you're trying to accomplish, and prepare the right, apply under the best format that you think. If you have a strong university partner or federal lab partner, consider the STTR. If you're doing it all on your own, it's your technology, you don't require that participation, SBIR is probably a better option as well. So really,
I agree. I agree. And either case, talk with your FAST program, and then also with your innovative idea, you can make a 20 minutes appointment with us. We can sort of suggest you which one would be better fit for you. And Jack, I love your question. You have that question that I'm going to come back, because I do have a specific slide that I would like to discuss, and then come back to your question.
Yeah, great question, Jack.
So how do we metrics like the success metrics for our program? We always look at, to be honest, what are kind of sales of technology or services happen through our programs? So by this funding, how many new jobs created with that small business, and what kind of licensing they have. So these are the 3 categories we always think that kind of depend. We think how successful was a specific fund. Now, what are the other features of the SBIR STTR program? We always say that ideas should be investigator initiated. We just do not define any specific problem from the USDA saying that, hey, this is the specific problem we have. We want the applicant or innovators to sort of solve it. we keep it open. So investigator initiated, meaning as an innovator, you are in your community, you know better what are the recent problem, what are the agricultural problem that you want to solve. So those are ideas that has to be investigator initiated, not anything specifically with our program. However, those ideas fall under the strategic planning that we do have 6 goals, strategic goal for our program. And usually those feed, if it is an agricultural based, any problem and solution we are talking about. And we're going to cover on the areas or subtopic areas, how that could be really broad. And our awards are based on scientific and technical merit. You have an innovative idea, but then we really want to see, does it has a technical merit? Does panel reviewers see that it does have a value and it can solve the societal issue or agricultural technical issues? So that would be the first one, the technical merit. Always look for that one. The second one is our PI and company qualifications. The people who are applying the grant, do they have the right qualification and right resources? If some PD has not much of the other qualification but had great idea, can he or she pair up with the university or federal lab to make that happen, whatever he or she is dreaming to? So that company qualification, we say, is sort of a merging. Do you need any other one to bring on board to be successful? And what is the commercial potential of the innovation? Is it going to be really something you can scale up in the phase 2? And then once you do in the phase 2, does it has potential to go in the market in phase 3? So those commercial potentials are really important for making that awards decision. Now, subcontracted to university and federal labs, that's another one that we're going to talk about CRED a little bit. And then Anne mentioned that those collaborations are really useful. And then also always we look for technical and business assistance. It's called TABA. I'm going to cover a little bit of the TABA, why it is important, but those are the criteria we are always looking once any sorts of awards are made. So the TABA is a technical business assistant, is introduced as part of John McCain National Defense Authorization Act to help the entrepreneurs. And it's not too long ago. I was just surprised. It's just fiscal year 2019 we started it. And TABA is actually helping our small businesses because once they apply, this TABA can help IP legal cost, marketing, market research, financial review, consulting, activities related to manufacturing. Not the full list is here. A lot of things could be covered, but I'm kind of broader way, just making sure that some of those common things are incorporated there. So this TABA is useful. And sometimes I say that applicant really does not take this benefit for them because this is really something you need to mention on your application that you would like to have the TABA. And this is not something from your budget. This is even supplementary budget above and beyond whatever you are asking for. Remember that 125 to 175,000 is your total budget amount you could ask for. So the TABA amount would be on top of that. So for phase 1, you can ask for TABA and then you will automatically receive that $6,500. And that money would be used to develop a commercialization plan. So if you have 175,000 asking for the fund, this 6,500 would be on the top of that. Then it would be 175 plus 6,500. So 181,500 would be the total budget for phase 1. For phase 2, because it's already in the commercial innovation potential, it does require a lot of money. So it's a chunk is a little bigger. So it's at $50,000 allocated for phase 2. So one quick thing I want to emphasize again, this does not cost or come from your budget. This is a supplemental funds above and beyond to the funds that you are applying for commercialization effort. So make sure that in your application, you always mention that, yes, I would like to have TABA, please, so that that money would be included on your budget. For phase 1, LARDA is USDA TABA provider, but you are actually open to choose your own provider. We do not say that you have to go with LARDA, LARTA is the one default one. If you do not know anyone to choose from, LARTA would be the default one, but you can just choose anyone you like. For phase 2, we do not have any listed provider. You could just choose, again, any source of different TABA provider.
Yeah. And folks, just another little set, that's again, your FAST provider in your state and through us as well. We can help you decide whether or not LARTA is brilliant. They're kind of the default USDA for phase 1. That can be a great default, and just to help you prepare for your commercialization plans, market research to really prepare a strong phase 2 proposal. Also, when we talk with you and advise and coach you, we'll look at, what are some options. You might be really well suited to find a very industry specific type of TABA provider. And we can talk with you about that as well, and maybe look at some options that you can consider. Our program ourselves, we cannot be a TABA provider the way we're structured. However, we do know other consultants that may help and assist you.
Yeah, lot of different consultants you could choose, lawyer you could choose, specific vendors you could choose. You are open to choose it, but do not miss it, because this is just top of your award cap. So please keep in mind. I kind of feel bad once I see some application do not include that one, and once they do not ask for it, we do not provide it. But this is a free money. You could have asked for it.
We try to avoid anybody who receives our coaching. They don't get away without requesting that funding. So
yeah. All right. Coming back to someone's question who said that, who was it? Jack was saying that will the solicitation entertain research-initiated ideas that don't fit into specific topics? So let's kind of talk about what kind of topics we have so far. We do have actually 10 broader topic areas, and you could see those listed. I'm not going to just repeat them, but I'm going to point out that there are 2 colors, right? Dark blue and little bit lighter colors. So the dark blue one, that those topic areas, your innovation has to be new innovation. So those are the higher amount, 175,000 you could ask for. 8.6 and 8.12, those 2 areas only, you can use the top of the shelf technology, right? Whatever technology already there, but you have innovative way to use it, market it, make it in different use. Then you can also apply for 8.6 and 8.12. In these 2 categories, because it's a off-the-shelf technology, not a new innovation, so the amount is a little less, 125,000. 125 or 135,000?
Yeah, I think 125 was at least last year.
Okay, 125,000. Yes.
Yeah. And these are great when you have something where you're combining, commercial off the shelf or something different in a new way to address. You still want to be focusing on something that's an unmet need. But when you're talking about rural and community development and small and mid-sized farms, it's a great opportunity to bring together some things that are addressing something that's important, but you don't necessarily have to recreate everything from scratch.
So these 10 topic areas, we actually wanted a broader net to catch a lot of fish. So we kind of purposefully did it so that any project idea could be fitting in any of the 10 categories. Jack, I'll tell you that if you come up with any ag-related research ideas that you do not know which one is going to better fit, we're going to help you to find which one would be better fit, but it will be under any specific topic area, under those 10 topic areas. So in my 2 years, and I have asked others too, I didn't really see any of the topic people bring back that we could not fit it. As I said, that is just so large, vaguely large. Conservation of natural resources. So a lot of things can fall into that category. Biofuels and bio-based products, we did not define what kind of bioproduct would be included, what kind of process is going to be included. Purposefully, it just kept broader so that anything would be fitting here. Now, we do have a program NPL, National Program Leader, Dr. David Songstead. He's the one, he always meet with the applicant if they have specific question in terms of which program would be right fit. So I always tell you that share with your ideas, 2 paragraphs or 1 page with us. We can make an 20 minutes or half an hour appointment with you, go through and show you which would be right fit. But after all those discussion, it's up to the applicant's decision what he decides to apply for. But Any sorts of research initiated ideas would fit under these 10 topic areas. You can come up with anything and I can tell you where it would be fit, but it will.
Do you divvy up the overall budget between them, or is it if you see 10 out of 8.1, for example, and 0 in most of the other one, do you try to disperse the funds across the topic areas, or do you really look at the individual applications and which are the strongest regardless?
So we actually try to do 15% for each topic areas.
Roughly. Okay.
Yeah, roughly that one. But sometimes specific program will have better benefit if it is a good fit. Like say forest and related resources always deal with the woody biomass. 8.8 does not deal with the much of the woody biomass, right? So all the panelists and everything, whoever review your application, if it is a right fit, they understand your project better.
Right.
So that's why it is important to put in the right one. I wouldn't say that one topic area would have better chance to get funding than other, because the other one will have any specific proposal that right fit, they will have better chance.
Right.
And everything is around 15%. It's not a small one, but it's a number of the proposal, 15% of the total proposals. Okay. So 8.8, if it is number of the total proposal, 15%, again, 8.6 also same, 15% of the total proposals.
Gotcha.
But if you have any confusion, please let us know and we can just review your ideas and sort of see which one would be better fit. Even after application, sometimes we see that the proposal does not fit well with the applicant that chose the topic area. We always discuss with them saying that, hey, we think that would be your topic area better fit. Do you want to switch it? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And we are okay with that, but we suggest to do the appropriate area have better chance.
Okay, thanks. That's great. Great to know.
All right, that's great. And then following this one that we sort of covered a broader range, look at in this, look at this section that what kind of areas we can cover. Usually agriculture does not mean all the plant and mud and crop. It's newer agriculture is actually broader area. You can think of anything about the sensor, electronics, IT, nanotechnology, precision ag, genetic engineering, biotechnology, even physics, remote sensing, material and coding, everything falls under agriculture now, right? So we do have really diverse technological areas that we do cover. You will be surprised to kind of see what kind of very sophisticated computer-based modeling one also sometimes you get with the machine vision and other things. So think broadly about agriculture that we do cover. We always ask you that do not think narrowly. Agriculture is a way broader than we used to think. So a lot of things really covered in our program.
Right.
All right. Now let's go back to the timeline. Someone did have some question when is going to be our next RFA. So the typical program timeline for phase 1, RFA actually released around July time. Proposal deadline falls in October. And then review and award notification is within December to February. Remember that USDA is not a contract agency. We are a granting agency, so we have to do everything by peer review panel. Any application you submit, we have different experts from university, lab, national agency, and other one. They are part of the review team. And 3% at least review your application. We just monitor. We do not put any comments on your application. So all the experts actually review it and then rank it. Based on that, you get funding. And then start date is July. So the whole shebang from RFA to award start date, 1 July to another July. But in between, if you think that you can use a lot of your time, a good proposal takes time. So think about now before the RFA solution release, you can fine tune that time. But now, and mention that you can always download the previous RFA from our website and work on your proposal. That's going to take a long time. And once the proposal are released in July, look at that. What are the differences you have? What are the new sorts of changes we make for our RFA, and make sure that you address those. So that's for phase 1. For phase 2 is again, only open to phase 1 awardees, not a new applicant all on a sudden can apply for phase 2. Only phase 1 awardees can apply for phase 2. So RFP solicitation released around December time. Proposal deadline typically had in March. Review and award notification takes long time for us, April to June, and then start date around September. So that's our typical program timelines for phase 1 and phase 2. Anyone has any question?
I'm gonna bring up a question that in terms of when people are thinking about, obviously we're talking to tech founders and people who have already done some preliminary research, some preliminary product development. Do you have any guidance in terms of, gosh, if I've already gotten started, how can I clarify whether or not I haven't gone beyond phase 1, for example? Are there little things you may want to consider about that?
I think that
because there's no direct to phase 2 with USDA. Some agencies do. Only a few at DoD. Education brought in a direct to phase 2 this year, and NIH. Those are the only agencies that have direct to phase 2 programs. Otherwise, you have to confirm. You have to go through. There has to be some risk, some unknownness to your product development, and that's something that we can actually talk with you about in terms of defining your scope of work. Or your work plan to really highlight what are the things that are still researchy about what you're trying to do and still need feasibility to go forward. But Maren, thank you. I want to let you address that as well.
Yeah. So Chad Cravens was asking, are there any direct to phase 2 with USDA? No, Chad, we do not have any direct phase 2 with USDA. However, if anyone finished the phase 1 with other agency, they can apply with the USDA. Then still, again, you have to complete the phase 1. There is no direct phase 2 with the USDA. Sorry. We have to have that phase 1. If someone is having a lot of advanced stage, I think that is with their benefit because their application is strong. Mm-hmm. It's only 8 months, just get it done and then jump on to the phase 2.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot, we get that often, folks with, gosh, we're working on this, that we're pretty confident we can do all of this. There's still opportunities to seek this type of funding and make sure that you're structuring, what are the elements of your product development that still need to be proven out that are risky. Mm-hmm. And that's how you can talk about defining something to apply for some of this funding.
I would really encourage those folks to go through the phase 1 because we do not have a direct phase 2. And if you're thinking about the long-term achievements, phase 1 is shorter time frame. If you do not need any no-cost extension, it's 8 months. But if you feel that you are advanced, it's really make your proposal strong and good chance to get the awarded. So get it done in 8 months. Get ready for phase 2. That would be my advice to do that.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so let's go. We do have more. So the review process is evaluated confidential peer review process that I mentioned, that we do have experts from academia, industry, non-profit, and federal labs. All applicants receive their verbatim copies of the reviews. So sometimes if you are unsuccessful, someone is unsuccessful, I say that great benefit of having that review comments is really strong because you can strengthen your application and resubmit next year. Phase 1 does not matter how many times you have to resubmit. You can do that. You can modify, make those comments, address those comments, and then resubmit. Phase 2 is critical. Phase 2, you can apply only one. If you are unsuccessful, done. That's it. So we always ask phase 2 application for our phase 1 awardee. Take your time. Make sure that you have everything ready, all the data analysis done before you apply for phase 2, because it's a one-time shot. Phase 1, I say that if you are ready, submit it. If you do not get it funding, get some good feedback from the reviewer, work on that, submit it next year. Do not think that I should not submit it because it did have poor score or something. Please submit, because we always see that resubmission, addressing all those reviewer comment has better success.
Yeah. And I'm going to, you probably talk about this as well too. One thing that's going to be really, really important, guys, when you're doing this, when you're preparing these, have a really clear technical research design for what you're proposing. Because again, with phase one, you have just a short amount of time to perform this work. So make sure that it's very, very well defined. Really highlight your team that's in there. And I'm going to say, it, especially now that the application is, the NIFA is not released, it is never too soon to start customer discovery. That really will bolster. That is received well when you have that confirmation from some customer discovery conversations to augment what you're trying to deliver under this project. So those are things that add, that we've found in our practice, that USDA was really well received for our applicants when they had that customer discovery as part of their proposals as well. Couple of questions that came in, Narun, where are there any match requirements? No match requirements. SBIR.
No, this is great for our program. No match requirements at all. And also another big one for other funding agency, or even NIFA, other program, every another program, you have logic model, you do have data management plan. Those are not required on SBIR programs. You do not have matching fund needed. You do not have logic model needed. You do not need the data management plan. So we try to make it a little bit simpler for our small businesses. Focus on your technical feasibility, well designed, some backup your design with the preliminary experiment, make the right good fit for the expertise, how you're going to do that, and show that within that 8 months time frame how you are planning to do it.
Right. And there was a question about indirect costs. That's really a budget question, folks. In terms of, when with any of these federal grants and contracts, you have three main components to your budget, and those are the direct costs. Those costs that are directly attributable to the time on the project. Your indirect costs are your costs of doing business. So those are costs that are appropriate across multiple projects that you may have, and just running your business. And that is allowed. And different agencies have different guidelines. We here at the Montana Innovation Partnership have a couple of different cost proposal workshops a year to help people understand more about what indirect cost rates are and how to calculate justified rates for your business. But then there's also the fee, which is a profit. That's just set aside. We encourage everybody, and I'll add tabit on that as well. So there's 4 sections that you want to be including in your budget, your overall costs that you're sharing with the agency. Fee is profit that is set aside. That typically is considered a buffer. You're probably going to put that back into your business, back into the project, but it really is something that is not limited by the FAR. So you can, and it is allowed by the SBIR policy directive. So we can coach you on those things as well. But I'm going to go then. Now I'm going to get back to what is USDA allowed for indirect costs. Narun, do you have some information on that? What their guidelines are?
It is a 10% de minimis rate. Yeah, I think that I'm gonna point out to our website a little bit information on the indirect costs, and then a little bit more details on our RFA as well.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and I do have 10 minutes. Let's kind of go through before we open up for the question and answer.
You bet.
I'm going to switch couple slides because I can share with the slides with you. This is just more of the detailed breakdown. If you are thinking about the SBIR program, how much percentage a government scientist or a university scientist could be involved. SBIR program that I highlighted a little bit earlier, but this would be just once you are ready to apply. STTR program, similar thing, PI can be employed with small business or research institution, and then specific things we say small business at least need to perform 40%, research institution 30%, the other 30% can be either with the research institution or another subcontract. So there are some differences of definition. Now, one thing we mentioned that you need to have that source of a research collaboration, and CRADA is a big thing, Cooperative Research and Development Agreement, and also make sure a little bit touch with that. And we really suggest that you always work with the federal lab to develop a CREDA, because if there is a two application with the similar or equal merit and we have the funding to fund one application, we always go with the one who has CREDA, because we see that it's a good potential to success because they have worked on that. CREDA takes time to develop with the federal lab. So we always want to make sure that you start it early, around 3 to 4 months it takes just to back and forth discussion and sorts of making sure that everything is covered, work on those agreements earlier, and that strengthen your proposals.
Yeah.
So what are the factors that could improve your chance for our success? So one thing, the first thing I will say, scientific or technical merit, commercial potential. That's the biggest thing, to be honest. That's the first thing. You have to take risk, and we are not shy away. USDA always welcome high risk, high reward, any sorts of proposal. So scientific technical merit has to be really sound. Which one has some commercial potential? Keep in mind that's the first one. Good consultants and CREDA, that could be a second one. Having a business expertise is good. Strong support letter from any end users, consumers, and investors are good. Now, some applicant even submit 40 support letters, maybe too much. You could think about 3 to 4, that would be good enough. Clear understanding of entry and sustainability in the market. It is the focus. Phase one, we want to see you thought about commercial potential. You are ready once you are done with the phase two, and you are thinking on far distance what you're going to do in the phase three as a commercial potential. So keep in mind, those are the point we look at on the proposals once you are thinking about getting awarded. On phase one, probably Anne and other group, because I think Montana is in good hand as you have the support system here, but reminding that sometimes it takes long time. Even the 2 weeks for the SAM UAI issue, we see that 4 to 6 weeks usually goes. So if you are planning to apply for phase one, make sure that your company registered with SBIR.gov. And then once you are done that, register on grants.gov to get a UEI number, unique entity identification number. This one replaced by DUNS. So you have to register with SAM.gov, and all the application you have to submit through grants.gov. For that, you need a username and account in the grants.gov. Start early, start working on that. This is your first process for the phase one application. Some of the advice for phase one application: contact with the topic area national program leader for a consult. So if you know that you are applying for 8.8 biofuels area, talk to that national program leader. How do you find that national program leader information? In the RFA. You will find his email, his phone number, and all the topic national program leader are listed under the topic area. Second, follow application guideline for format, page limits, required documents. It kind of breaks my heart sometimes to decline the proposal, but it is a silly thing. If it is, we said 15 pages, you go 16 pages, it's decline. If we say 1.5 spacing, you do single spacing, decline. So that takes really seriously. Whatever defined in the RFA, need to make sure that you follow all those guidelines of the formatting, whatever defined in the RFA. Ensure application responded to all review criteria listed in the RFA. RFA actually listed those criteria that what your panelists or peer review panel will look in your proposal. So once you are writing that application, make sure that you check those marks. Okay, this is address. And that's the reason that Ann Peterson's group and other people who are doing that application guideline helping or workshop, they could closely help you. But overall, I will always say, read the RFA. Please read the RFA. RFA year-to-year change, not the topic area change, but the guidelines, formatting, all those information change. Read the RFA before you finally submit it. For phase one application, provide a vision. What is the market opportunity? That is the vision. We make sure that we want to do that. Also, sell the importance of your project and alignment with USDA priorities. If you look at our RFA, you will see that our 4 or 6 strategic priorities, and then how your project or your plan fits with that priorities, make a connection. Provide experimental plan, how you're going to do that, whatever you are saying you're going to do that, and what are your insights for commercial potential. You don't have the full commercial potential, but at least you see far ahead what you're planning to do. And we really like to see that you are connected with the communities, like how this proposal or funding is going to help overall in your communities to solve some of the issues. And this is the one I would like to kind of show you, different resources. Small Business Development Center had that. Each state actually had those small business development center. Montana has it, and that's why they would be helping you. And also the FAST program, Federal State Technology Partnership Program, always helps the small business underrepresented rural areas application as well. If you are not quite sure for your area to find local assistant for SBIR proposals, there is a link. You could also go there. So these are all those assistant resources you could just go through. I think that, and we are answering throughout the questions, so we are running out a little bit of time, but I'm going to just show you some of the success story that we have to motivate you that it is not only the application stage. We see that in the real world. MePro is a good example. It did got a big award in Germany in 2019 Aquafeed Innovation. So the MePro, what they did, they used just the soybean meal to make the fish meal, and very successful in South Dakota. They now have 30,000 square feet facility, and they are selling those samples in 12 countries and currently producing 30,000 tons MePro. So this is a great success story in the recent time. And then the second one we do have, this is a women-owned one, Stony Creek Colors. They develop a supply chain for synthetic dyes. They call it bio-preferred, and a lot of denim, blue jeans, all those colors, they are actually big brand customers to supply those, and big one now. Stony Creek Sunside Wind, that is a minority-owned business. Actually, they developed advanced blade turbine, wind turbine to increase energy production. So this is a very successful one. They have not got to the phase 3 yet, but very ready on that side also. So another one is the Embrex one, but they started over vaccination, but it is purchased by Pfizer. Now you guys know how big is the company. Pfizer, very, very successful.
Right.
So I'm going to point out to our brochure. Please look at the brochure, and brochure is very neat. You could just look at all those topic area. It's a small one with the pictures, easy to read. And if you do have any contact, anyone to ask any question, please email to sbir@usda.gov for general query. We do have National Program Leader, Dr. David Songstead, for topic area fitness. Email to him. And Miss Melinda Kaufman is our program coordinator. Please feel free to email as well to her. So that's the one. I'm going to just stop sharing and see if we have any question that we have not answered.
I appreciate you staying on for a couple of more minutes here, Narun. Thank you. Any questions that have come up? I know there is one question that is in the chat in terms of their application is maybe has more of a fit in a global market than US markets, addressing control of a non-toxic technology for locust control. What do you think? Are those types of things, or should we set up a conversation with the national program leader?
You definitely would encourage to set up time, but to be honest, we really want to benefit the USA first. So we do encourage global engagement and global benefit, but then with the small business, we do have primary need is what is going to be benefit in our US economy. You think about our success metrics, that success metrics tells us what are the licenses you have, how many jobs you have created, what are the sales or technology in USA, not outside. Having that everything in USA, then the global engagement. So the global engagement in the next round, probably it would be better fit with the other programs, but USDA, SBIR, STTR focus on the USA benefit first.
Yeah, and typically the research needs to be conducted in the US with very few exceptions. So yeah, but that's a great question, and those are important things to do. You guys, any other questions that are coming up real quick? Lots to think about. I'm really excited that we had this opportunity for you guys to get more exposure to the USDA SBIR program and STTR program. It is a great option. And as Narun had mentioned, they're so accessible. They are very, very accessible. Either myself or your FAST team member in your state can help you with, preparing to talk to a national program leader if you have some more questions, but also make sure that you're putting forth your most competitive proposal and answer a lot of those other questions. So thanks for your time, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. I'll share the PDF of this presentation. And then also NIFA is doing a grants workshop. It's not for SBIR only, it's general grants workshop. I'm going to share this information with you so that you can just pass in with your participants.
Yep, I will. And your team shared with us also a really great little grant writing checklist for you as well. I will share that with all of you here as well after the show, after the webinar. Great. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. And Anne, thank you.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you. Bye, everyone.